it's Carmen from Cherish Legacies and the Well Chronicled Life, and tonight I'm sharing the content from our live webinar, Rooted in the Past. It's going to be a lot about family trees, genealogy, family history, and all those things. Our webinars are the last Thursday, 8 p.m. live. They have a different theme each month. I hope you can join us at some point, so let's get started. So, I am going to be using forever storage in the examples. I'm going to show my workflow, and I use and recommend forever storage. And if you do not have it, you can get a free account for up to 2 gigs to get started and to try it. Or if you have a storage that you already use and like, you will be able to use some of the tips and things that I am going to share. But the reason I use forever is one of the guarantee. Um, I can pass it on as an asset to my children. There's no data mining or third-party advertising. But probably my favorite thing is that how robust it is and how it looks and how I can organize and share and collaborate using it. So that is just a little bit about that. So a couple weeks ago, just we had a incident in our family. My uncle, somebody tried to scam him using ancestry.com and some information off it. And this said this was my long lost uncle, which there's all kind of, if you start going around into genealogy, you can find some interesting things. But in this case, it was a scam. So one, I want to tell you that because just to watch out for that. That is becoming a more and more popular thing, a new way to scam. They'll find anyway. And two, I wanted to, there's a lot that's redacted on my slides, and that's the reason, because this just had happened just to happen a couple weeks ago for my family and all that. I redacted a lot of dates and parts of names and things, so that is the reason for that. So I always like to start with a photo tip, and I love all the feedback I'm getting on that. We'll do a photo tip, and then we'll start on my workflow. And a couple months ago, I did how to take photos at a table, and I've gotten lots of great photos of people saying how much they've improved with that tip. So this is group photos again, because I was thinking family reunions and times of family history. They're large groups of people. So some tips to help that. First is to stagger heights. Don't try to line people up like tallest to shortest or anything like that. You can see in this picture on the left how they're staggered up and down and up and down. And also look, they're not lined up flat. Even don't try to take a picture right at the wall, but step out a few feet if you're at a wall or something, and then kind of stagger a little bit to give it a little bit more interesting. You can see how people, some people are stepped a little bit forward, some back. The other thing is this is the grid of thirds, which now you can get on your phone. Oh, if you go in your camera settings, most phones will have this as a setting. And your eyes should line up with that top line. That's where the your eyes should be. So this photo was pretty right on. Another thing is the quickest tip I can give you, of course, is, and I just don't think about it, is to turn the phone, right? So usually we have it vertical, and if you have a large group, just turn the phone, right? And it will be a much better picture that way. And so another tip is to do groupings of triangles. If you look at this picture on the left, you can see the first 3 people are a triangle. These are a triangle. So if you have 3 people, you can think of lining them up like a triangle. If you have a larger group, you can think groups of triangles, okay? Or maybe instead of a straight line, you curve the line is in like a curved up, like a more of a horseshoe is another tip. Also, make sure everyone's grouped together, or you're going to have this problem here in this picture. There's a couple issues right here. There's a big gap between my mother and my sister-in-law, which is kind of funny when you think of the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law things. And then my son's hanging out here by himself. So it's much better in this one down here where everybody's kind of closer, tighter together. This one's not perfect. I think it's too much of a straight line, but it's better than that. So you think of layers of that. Also think of anchoring the person that is important, the birthday person, the bride or groom, and not necessarily in the center, but around the sweet point, which is this intersection. The top right is the sweet point of a photo. And so maybe the person who's being honored is there. So a few more things. I think of photo journaling, and I think sometimes, like in this photo, I think we were trying to get the scenery instead of concentrating on the group. You have more than one photo you can take. So think of, I want a really good shot of these people, and then I can get the scenery. And with 5 to 6 photos, you should be able to tell the story. So this photo, there's several things wrong. As you can see, one, we don't need all this in the foreground, right? Uh, and in the background, if we would have just moved over a few feet and got this light pole, which we could take out, but I like to just take the picture the first place and we won't have to do that. We could have just moved over and moved this light pole. And you don't have to, so the first one you see here, you don't have to have it centered. I kind of like this one off-centered. You can see the mountain in the background really good. So I like this one better than the first one. And then the last one is even cropped in more so you can actually see the people. And my thing would be, it would have been better instead of having to crop to actually get closer in the first place. So the last one is these two. So this was this one you just saw. And this one I think is much better. Why is it better? Because we have layers. So we have some people squatting lower. This could be in chairs, right? And you could think of those thirds as, can I get different people in there? Some people are leaning forward here. It's framed with these two things on each side. There's like a frame. It does have the flag, which is the state we were in, so it's kind of interesting to have that in there, but you could have come in closer and just had the people here. But you can see how this one actually is just composed a little bit better than this one. Okay, so now we're going to get into the fun part, the genealogy. I'm going to start with, I am not an expert on research and genealogy. I love it. I go down rabbit holes and all that. And so this is my workflow of how I do it. And this is going to be more of not how to research, but more of when you have all this research, how to keep it straight, which is what I struggled with. So I'm going to start with the numbering system. I'm not going to attempt to say that name because I get it wrong every time. But this is the a German word, and it is a standard for genealogy to one of the ways to number your family tree. And if you have Family Search or Ancestry, you can print out your family tree with these numbers. And this is, you're going to see why this is important in a minute. So some of this stuff may be like, if this is all new to you, then you're probably going to want to watch this again. We will be sending out a handout if you want that, that will help a lot. You can read it. And the best thing you can do is to go in to your storage and basically just do the first 3 generations. And the more you do it, it'll become second nature. So I know when I first heard about this and first started doing it, I struggled a bit, but now I can do it like in my sleep. So this number system, the person you're starting with, for example, this would be me. I would be 1. My dad would be 2. My mom would be 3. My dad's dad would be 4. His mom is 5. An easy way is men or males are even numbers after the first one, and females are odd, okay? Again, 3 would be my mom, and her dad is 6, and her mom is 7, and it goes on and on and on. And why is this important? Because this is how we're going to number it in our count. Okay, so You have to get your mind around it, and you're going to see another step of it, but that's an important first thing to realize. So this is my workflow. I use Ancestry and Family Search. There are tons of research things. You can use any of those and use the same workflow. I do, I use, I go in and research. If I find something and I have proof of it, because as any of you know, Ancestry and Family Search have a lot of things that are wrong. And so before it goes into my Roots Magic, which is a program on my computer that stays on my computer, I make sure there's proof. So anything in my Roots Magic is true because I have proof, right? And so it's verified. And so I put it into here. Then what I do is I create an album in my Forever account. So this is how this looks. So my top level album is myself, and I am one. If you go back and remember the numbering system, I'm one. So I put 001 for myself. I'm the top level. All of my ancestors are numbered after that. Okay, so my dad is 2, my mom is 3, my grandparents are 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and this is what the album looks like. And then under it, the files, the first files only put photos of that are only of me. Or in my dad's, there are only photos that are of my dad, single people in it. And I do that for 2 reasons. One, because there's no confusion. I can quickly look at it and know every photo in here is of him or of the person that the album is. 2, because a lot of times I'm looking for a single photo of somebody, then it's easy to find that photo because I can always go into my family tree albums and I can find it easily. And so how do I find these? So I have facial recognition in my Forever account. And so what I do, you can see here, I have 1,607 photos of my dad. So I just quickly scroll through and find and click on all the photos that are just of him. And then I come over to organize, which will be in your top right. It's not going to look exactly like this. This is just snippets, okay? And I go add to album, and I add it to that album 002 of him. And so that's how I add all of those. And so I'll do that for that person I've created that album for. Okay, so this one is this is my grandfather. And you can see up here, this is standard for everybody. I put their birth date, if they have a marriage date, and their death date. You can do this however you want. Sometimes if you want to do BMD and not spell it out, whatever you want, and however you want this to look like. So I don't think, personally, I don't think it matters as long as it's standard throughout it and looks the same. So then nested under that album. So this album on my grandfather's 4 is nested under mine. Then nested, this is what it looks like. Okay. So this is his spouse. So his spouse is 40S for spouse, right? And this is his spouse. She's also 5. But I like, so you really don't have to have it here, but I like to have a picture of the spouse right here. So I do that. Then all of his children. So his firstborn is right here, which would be 4-1, firstborn. Second would be my dad, 4-2. Third, 4-3. Fourth, 4-4. Fifth, 4-5. So each of those are nested right here. When I click on it, it's beautiful. It comes up. There's a photo of each of them. That is his family. And they're all nested under him. Okay, the next thing that we're going to kind of go into detail is the next thing I have is his documents. So you can see this is Cox, Roland, and then his documents, okay? And we'll see what's nested, what I put in there. And then I have his story, which we're not going to go into that. This one, that's probably going to be next year. We'll probably go into an in-depth webinar about telling the story. So when you open one of these, like one of these files, this is what's called the lightbox view. So if I click on one of these files in my account, this is what pops up right here on the right. So your picture will pop up, and then all these things will pop up. And so just to quickly go over it, there's a title, and we'll see that. There's description. You can adjust the date, which is very important. The date you uploaded it. It tells you how big it is. You have tags and you have albums, and then who owns this photo. So let me start with, so what I do is if I'm in Ancestry and I found this, I found his marriage license. So I downloaded it. And what I used to do, which was a bad mistake, I would download a whole bunch of documents. Then I would forget where they came from and all this. So I do this one at a time. So I download the marriage license and I change the name. Some people, it's controversial. They say don't change the name, you because it at least it tells you where it came from. I personally want it to look this way, so I change the name, and I have the information of where I got it in the description, so it doesn't worry me to change the name. So I always have it in this format: last name, first name, and then I put ML for marriage license, and I have little all those different labels for whatever. And then this actually is translated in Ancestry, like has all the information. And I just copied and pasted it and put it in here. And then under, if you kept looking in the description, it would tell you exactly the sources. Okay. So all that is, I just copy and paste. It does not take long because I'm only copying and pasting. I'm not typing anything. Then the main, so this goes in his album, but anybody else that's mentioned in this document, which there's a lot, because this is, his wife is mentioned, his parents are mentioned, and her parents are mentioned, because so that's a lot of documentation for a lot of people. So it goes in each person's album for me, so that I know where it goes to. Or you could tag all these people also. So again, this is a census. I downloaded it and then I copied the source citation, and then whoever was in it, I added it to their album. If you you could actually take the photo yourself, but I also, under documentation, have memorial stones. You can go to find their grave. Again, this shows exactly where this memorial stone is in the description, and where I found it. And also, I didn't show this before, but you can see I put the date that this census was taken. I changed the date to that one. This was the date of the marriage license. This is the date of the death date is here. So then I come, and another great thing I absolutely love, and I will spend hours and hours, is I use newspaper.com. I'll talk about some other options. It does cost. You can get it in one of the packages with Ancestry, but I turn it on and off, and I find all kinds of great gems. In newspaper.com. So this is the newspaper that I found my grandfather in, the photo. So I downloaded it, I put where I found it, and I changed the date to the date it was published. So that's another type of, I love maps. Most people who are into genealogy love maps. And so actually this is for my great grandfather, and found a map of 1870 when he was living, what North Carolina looked like in the different counties, because the county that I'm in now wasn't even a county at the time. So have a picture of that. Again, this is in, change the date, put where you have it. So another document I might have is once I get to a point, I love to fill out my tree, but when I get to the point where, I need to start looking through a whole bunch of deeds or really intense search, that is not for me. So Forever does have research, or you may have some other people that you do research for. So in their documents, if there's been professional research, then I upload the whole PDF. So this is actually Forever did some research for me on Sarah Hackney, and so this is the information that they found on this person for me. Okay, so this is what it will look like. This is Joe John Maxton's documents, and I love it because you can see all the documents and you can sort it by date and it'll show the date. And why is this important is because I can easily see, like if I have all the census and I'm missing, I'm like, why I have 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930. Why don't I have 1940? Why don't I have the census for that? So then I might go back to Ancestry or to Family Search or other and say, okay, can I find his census from that year? So you can really see like through a timeline of their life what is what they have. Another great thing about Forever storage is the way you can collaborate. So basically, this is the only photo I have of Alex, my great grandfather. I know other people have it. So this is what the top of his account looks like right here. This is the only file I have, and then I have a note that was in a scrapbook. So if I was working on him and I wanted some more photos, I knew family members did it, I could go in, share this album, and I could click this right here that allows anyone to upload to that account. And I send it out and say, hey, do you have any photos of Pa Kelly? And then if so, will you upload it here? So it's a great way. People can upload to it. You can also have other people manage your account so they can go in and help if there's a relative that you want to go in and help label people, help write stories, all those things. You can have them manage, or you could have a Zoom party. Everybody comes in and you can say, hey, let's look at these photos and see if we can identify who they are. So if you're into genealogy, a lot of people know a lot about metadata, so I just want to touch on it. It is the old grandma's digital pen, and it adds context, it's searchable, it's shareable, and it's digital, so it's important. So a lot of people want to know what metadata stays in forever and what downloads, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And another important thing is tags and albums. To think about this when you're doing your work is tags travel. So they are permanently part of your metadata. Albums, I love them, I use them, but they live in within forever. Tags move, albums don't. So just keep that in mind. So when you download or when somebody else goes in and downloads a photo, what you want to make sure you go into your preferences with Forever and you have on the metadata. If you want them to see be able to see all the information in it to stay with the photo, you want to turn this on. If you don't, then you can turn this off. It will cause it to download slower because it takes longer to have all that information. And if you want to know what is going to be downloaded, I'll show you just as let's go on and show you this. Okay, so this is the map you saw earlier, right? So if I download this map and I have it enabled to metadata, you can see the title is right here that I changed it to, right? The tag is here. It's when he was living. The description is the comment. So if you can click on this, all the comment will come down with it. Okay, so you can see the title stays, the tag stays, and the description stays. Now, if you use Valet, which is free to use this to upload, like if you have metadata or you have an organization system and you want it to go into forever, use Valet and it keeps your structure and it keeps all your data, which is really great and it makes it go faster. You can also use this to download, but there is a cost when you download. And when you download, this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to come in your account, and this is my folder. Now, this is not as pretty as my albums, but at least the information's here, right? This is my eighth album. And then if you open up the album, then this is what's going to show up. I have one file, and then I have the other album with all of his documents. And so that's what it looks like to download uh, your files. So just quickly, some resources. Ancestry is one I use, newspaper, family search. If you live in North Carolina or you live in other states, look at their state library. They have great digital collections, and I found lots of family stuff in there. So I just search it every once in a while. I search some family names to see what comes up. Sometimes I found photos. Library of Congress has a lot of newspapers and it's free. North Carolina Digital Collection is free. I have not found it as user friendly as newspapers.com. It times out a lot when I'm trying to search and things like that. But if you have something specific, you know where it is and you know how to look for it and it's narrow, I think it can be helpful. The other thing that I use a lot is Our Timelines is completely free. I love it because you go in there, you put the date of the birth date and death date, if there is a death date, and they will give you a history of what happened in history during their lifetime. So I'd love to do screenshots of that and add it to the person's under the person for context, or to find, if I can't find newspapers of them, then I will go in there and find newspapers of that time period to put their life into context, you know. And so I love to use Our Timelines to figure out, you know, what happened during their life. So next month our theme is love and legacies. So it is going to be absolutely fabulous. Do not think it will be great if there's somebody getting married to tell their love stories, or if there's a golden anniversary, it would be great for that. But it is anybody. So it could be your love story, it could be your parents, it could be anybody's, and how to tell it, the questions to ask, how to organize it. It's going to be fabulous. I hope you will join us next month. Also, Forever has a free genealogy group, and their next meeting is August 16th, and in just a few weeks, and it is free, and it is a lot more in depth in the weeds, I would say, about research. So if you love to know all the little tips and trips more about research, I encourage you to go have a listen to that. So I hope you have a great day or evening, and I will see you next time. See you later. Bye.